Okay, so progress on the coil box. Just give you a quick preview. Here's some of the parts that are ready, painted or powder coated, ready to go on. Bags of components all labelled. There's the hogshead that's had the paint done. Sump, been painted. Incidentally, when you take your sump off, you might notice wrinkles in these areas here. This is when they're doing the pressing for the part. They're trying to form a lot of metal around very sharp corners. So they're stretching out in some places and they're having to compress metal in others. And these are the areas where it compressed. What you see I've done here is grind that all off, grind it flat. So when we start to add the gaskets, I'll have a much better chance of it sealing without oil leaks. So here's the engine completed by Ballos Engineering in Richmond, Virginia. A guy called Stuart there is very knowledgeable. He's done a lot of these engines. And here you go, he re-honed the cylinders, and we have got 30,000 plus pistons, aluminum pistons in there. Things are measured and trued up, new babbits. It does a great job on the cleaning. This was presented back to me with all cleaned up, and I've done the maroon. I decided on a maroon colour. Don't know why, just thought could be useful. This is going to be a sight glass right here, just so if you do get it overflowed, you can nicely cleaned up, new pins and parts for the engine, the triple gears, planetary gears, new bushings in the drums, your bands, rebanded. I did that, it's quite an easy job. You just basically, I bought it all from Snyder, the parts from Snyder. And you basically put the rivets in, push them through, spike the hole through the material, and you bend the legs out. Relatively easy. Here's a reconditioned generator, and I have new clutch rings ready to go on. Various parts have been painted. So the coil box. Bought the wood from Snyder, and I've bolted the contacts here. I've got to bolt these contacts in, but just to show you, it's screwed back in place. I use the original screws. Maybe at some stage these are going to start rusting, but I probably won't be around when that happens. It's got the battery and the magneto terminals are all wired up. You can't see it now, but there's channels underneath here that take the cables. You can just about see it here and here. There's slots in the wood, in the base and the side, where the cables come through. So some of these coil boxes, the later ones, have a switch on the front. The wood is the same for both, and you can see there's the gap that would allow the cables to come up to the switch box here. Mine still uses the same wood, but the cables go through to here, these two, and then this is for your bottom ones are for the spark, and the top ones is from the commutator. Here you go. And there's also the firing order in this diagram. You can get all this online. If you want to take a still of this, you're more than welcome. So the spark goes to here, and this is the commutator, and it goes to these ones here, and it gives you the order and everything. So it's really difficult to get it wrong. There's a blown up picture, and there's a schematic of the full Model T wiring diagram. But I did find another one. This is an older one, I believe, and this one has electric lights. Yeah, the switch box, I've refurbished. This is probably the one that's going to go back in there. Refurbished all the switches. So these are all ready to go, and I've got to decide which one I'm going to use. But basically, the wiring for the switches is all in those diagrams. And the two wires that come off the coil box, one goes to the mag, one goes to the battery via this switch. Pretty simple. And that's it for now. I reckon it's going to be a good 6 months before I've put all this back together, and I don't know, we'll see how quickly things move along. But it's hot in here right now, so I'm not going to spend too much time in the workshop. collection of oldies. See, I've got a couple more coil boxes here. Here's the coil box with the switch that would go on the front. Here's another standard one like mine. So here's another point to note, that these contacts are left and right-handed, so that they align properly with the coils. If you look carefully at the holes, you'll see that this hole is slightly nearer this edge than it is this edge. Another point to note is that on the 23T, you see the hole at the bottom, the single hole at the bottom, you've got the two rows of 4, bottom being all the spark and the top being the from the commutator. The bottom hole there comes from the switch. On earlier models, they had 2. One was coming from the mag and one was coming from the battery, which also relied on a switch, but I think there was more of a chance of those two contacting. You know, if things get wrong, what you really don't want to do is have the mag be powered up by the battery. That will destroy your magnets. So here you will see there's a single post here that goes to this bottom strip, which powers up the coils, and this was originally for the mag and battery, or battery and mag, it didn't really matter which way, but one of these was the mag, one was the battery. But in the later models you only have one. They both go to the same contact anyway, so I think this is probably Henry Ford's idea of making the whole build a little bit more economical. He didn't have to have a bolt, insulator, washer, thread and a wire, soldered wire that goes to this bottom part, so he was able to make it a little bit cheaper. And so this is the battery or the mag, and it goes to the switch here, battery and mag, sorry, goes to the coil. This comes from the battery, this comes from the mag, this goes to the coil. Then this is just lights and dimming lights. Okay, here's the finished coil box with the coils. These are refurbished coils, professionally done. I believe they have the capacitor put in, so they're a lot more reliable. They've all been set up for Model T. What's important is to remember this little strip here. Yeah, I forgot it. So I had to take the thing out and then put it back again, but the strip goes through to here. If you don't get that in, there's a chance that over a period of time the steel will bow out and the contacts over here behind, if I'm pulling out, no, I'm not going to pull it out, the contacts behind here will not contact basically. But anyway, there's the finished product. I'm going to fabricate a lid because I think they're like $140 to put a lid on here. So I've got the dimensions of this lip and the shape and everything, so I'm going to do a quick sketch and fabricate it out of a piece of steel sheet. So if you don't have an engine mount that would, so if you don't have an engine stand that would fit the Model T engine, you know, you use your initiative, and I came up with this. This is just a cherry picker. Put it through the center hole where the throttle levers go through. The throttle, and just the throttle level goes through here. And you can lift it using a piece of angle iron and just going through that hole. Covered all this up, I don't want the dirt to get in behind the pistons, and I'm going to just twist it and put it on its end so I can start the rebuild of the flywheel, the drums and everything onto this end. So you can see it moved over really easily. You're not even touching the valves because it's this cast-in support is here, so it's not causing any problems at all. So now what I've got to do is build up some wooden blocks to sit on the water inlet cast Spiga manifold there, and this surface, which is proud of this gear, so that's where it'll sit. Okay, there we have it. Engine rotated, strapped in place against this steel bar to these two upright surfaces to keep it horizontal, and it's sitting on the water inlet and the timing gear cast part here. I'm going to keep this in all the time that I don't need it to be out of the way. And then when it's out of the way, I will start mounting the parts on the top. So the engine's not moving at all, it's pretty secure there. Here's the underside of the magnet. I didn't actually check these with any kind of a Gauss meter. I basically just made sure that they all had magnetism, and I used like a fish scale weight measuring device, and I put a washer across these two and just pulled and made sure they were all roughly pulling about the same, and they were about the same. And this thing ran on the mag before I disassembled it, so I know the magnets are good. And the coils I tested. Basically, you've got to have continuity. They just have two wires here and here. You've got to make sure you've got continuity all the way around. If you haven't, you need to replace the coil. And actually, I'd probably do them all if it went bad. This isn't a catastrophic failure because although the engines and the buzz coils are designed to run on the mag, they work perfectly well with straight voltage coming from the commutator. So yeah, I know this should be good. And just while I had this out, I went around all of these again, all of the nuts, just to make sure that they were all torqued up. I gave them about 40 pounds, just using a nice little simple torque drive. So these are, you don't want any of this coming loose, so I just torqued them all up just to be sure. So now the flywheel is on, and you've got to check these gaps. So now the flywheel is on, you have to check these gaps. It's got to be 25 to 45 thou, I believe. I've got a 30 thou shim here. Just want to make sure, see the magnetism is pretty strong. I want to put this, make sure I'm getting that under each one. That one's a little tight. That one too. Nice. 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 Okay, that's how you do it. I'm going to go around the whole lot and make sure that everything is more than 25 thou gap, and then we should be good to go. So here's a few tips when you're assembling the triple gears on the Model T. I put this, you have to align, where are the marks? You have to align these marks. On mine it's got like a U shape. Not sure if you can see it from the, oh, look at this one. You can see it there. Okay, yeah, there's a U shape right here, which you can line with any one of the teeth. But then you've got to align this one as well in here when you are at the 9th tooth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the same with over here. And what I've done to hold them all together for when I actually lift it up onto the engine is tied them together with some zip ties that'll just hold them all in. These are all machined to size. These are all machined to the bushings have been honed to the pins in every case. So that's why it's looking pretty good, and everything has got a superb close tolerance fit to it. Well, 2 thou is what Henry Ford recommended. So 2 thou clearance on all of the bushings and bearings. This one was a little tricky to get in. It was a press fit, but with a bit of perseverance it was able to snug it down, and that's it. Going back a little bit, so remember I had to torque these down with 4 bolts. I just have to feel for it. That's one. There, 2, 3, and 1 behind there, 4. And for each one, you've got to turn the flywheel and the crank so the bolt head is exposed. Otherwise, you can't get your torque wrench onto it. And I put 50 pounds on these large bolts here. So there's 4 bolts that hold the flywheel to the end of the camshaft flange, and the magneto is in the middle of all of that. So now I'm going to grease all this up, make sure it's nice and greasy. I said grease because I'm not sure quite how long it's going to be before I get this engine up and running. So here we go. Once it's all tied, you can make sure that everything turns the way it should do. And it also helps align these for when I'm struggling to get anything to fit. Another bit of a tip: if you have a fit issue between this bore and your shaft, then obviously you've got to do some cleaning up. I use this small reamer honing tool to just clean this out. But just another tip, that there is a gap between bushings. This bushing and this bushing, there is a gap halfway. And if it's a small honing tool, you are probably going to lose it halfway. So just don't go too deep with this one, otherwise you'll have a hell of a job getting this tool out. Just go in from one end, take it out, and then go in from the other end. And just clean these areas up, possibly a bit of swarf or something got in the bore when it was machined, and it created a bit of a tight fit. So yeah, I had to clean mine out a little bit. I also used a bit of wet and dry emery paper on the shaft just to clean up any burrs that might be on there. Now it fits really well. Okay, here it is all assembled. The triple gears are in, all oiled, and everything moves nicely. So next step is to put this part in with all the clutch plates. Okay, so we got the hub in and the 3 washers underneath. This was a bit of a job because in the past, somebody with this one had not put this into the hole in the shaft properly. So this was screwed up. The hole in the shaft was slightly gouged, so I had to clean that up. And I just used a Dremel, because you can't really get in there with a drill because this drum is in the way now, and I didn't notice soon enough. And then I found another bolt, which was the next size up, retapped this hole, drilled and retapped this, and then wired it here. And it's now a nice fit. Everything turns the way it should do. Next step is to put these clutch plates in. These are modified with like the asbestos type material. It's not asbestos, but I forget what they call it. It's a material that creates friction. So you put alternately one of these and one of the other rings. Where are they? The steel rings. Yeah, here you go. So you put one of these and one of these alternately into the clutch assembly over there. So that's what I'm going to do now. These have been soaking for 48 hours in oil. And then these will be oiled alternately with those as I put them in. So I have two of these clutch spring assemblers. Had a spare engine. I'm going to see which one on the centre bearing fits the best. So I can like guess the play on that one. It's considerable. This one is much tighter, much better. This one has the square hole, but it has a problem with one of the three adjusters. If you look at this adjuster here, you might be able to see that the thread has been knackered at some point in time. So I'm going to take this, it's been bashed, I'm going to take this out, replace it with one of those. Okay, so you can look over here at, here's the broken thread that I took out. See, it's bent, and you can see why. For some reason there's a really deep slot. I don't understand that, whether such a deep slot on these. Maybe, you know, you can get a screwdriver further in, I'm not sure. But anyway, it weakens the thread. Here's the one I took out, it's a lot better, and so I'm going to use that. This is the one I'm going to use because actually the plate looks nice. What I'm going to do is clean this up. Look, here's the before. And here's the after. It doesn't actually do much physical work, this. The pressure is in these parts here, but this is bolted down. And then you've got the adjuster points for the spring, which have to all go down evenly. So this is the better of the two that I've got, except like I said, it had that dodgy thread. I'm going to put this one in there, and I've just discovered why those threads are so deep. It's so you can put a split pin in the correct position. And for now, what I'm going to do is take the split pins out and put everything assembled, snug these down just so they're, you know, touching, not loose. And then once it's all torqued down, I'll be wiring these bolts to the engine. So here I've got a choice of these clamp rings that go on the top of the pressure plates, and there's one here that looks a little bit suspicious, but it's the newer one. It's a T704 ring. I mean, you can buy these new, but if you look here, you can see it looks like there's been some damage. I'd even say that could have possibly been welded up. I'm not sure, but this is the newer one. A little bit of corrosion going on there as well, so I'm going to lean on this older one, but I am going to clean up these pins. Make sure it all fits first, but clean these pins up. This one doesn't look too bad. These ones look pretty sunken, so I think this has had a lot of use, the newer one. The older one has not. However, the diameters do look different, so I'm going to check all that out. Make sure that it's dimensionally correct as well. Okay, here it is cleaned up. And I did notice that actually the pins look pretty good on top. There's hardly a mark there. Can't really see it with this light. But there is a slight burr on the top of one of them. So I'm just going to dress that off with a stone, and then we should be good to start the fitting process. And there we are, complete. That's a pretty nice looking, good ring. I like to clean everything off before I fit it. That way I can easily inspect for cracks, dents, anything that shouldn't be the way it was made. And this one is good to go. So the first thing is dip it again in the oil. And then just put it on top. And it should just float along that top metal spacer ring like that. Then we can take our spring assembly that's been inspected. It's got the split pins in. He said it had one split pins in, we'll get another one. Everything works the way it should. And I'm not going to adjust these yet. I'm just going to put it on top and then start drawing down. Keep those pins in. I should have opened them up a little bit and then you could get it on. But this is the surface that contacts, so I've just cleaned all that up. And I should just lay that on top, try and find the best fit. Pins go in top there, and then I have to draw this down. So I'll be drawing this down with 6 bolts. And then the bolts will need wiring. I've got to remember I've got 4 bolts underneath here that need wiring too. So I'll do that when I turn the engine over. Incidentally, to move the engine, as you no doubt, I haven't got an engine stand, so I've just purchased 2 eyelets which have got like adapters which will go into the spark plug hold gaps, and I should pull up on this one while I hold this area here, and the engine will rotate back to horizontal into a nice position. I've got the second eyelet will go further down, probably spark plug number 3. And then I can keep it horizontal with another strap and start working underneath from the cherry picker. So yeah, all coming together good. Okay, again, cleaning up some of the bolts that are going to hold this clamping around. It's important again to clean these things up so you can see the condition of the threads. I also measured the ODs to make sure that the peaks are still there, and I also had a look under the magnifier of the iPhone to make sure that the threads are not hooked in any direction. This one I really didn't need a iPhone magnifier. I think you can see for yourself. That one's mangled. Luckily I have 2 sets of these, so I will get one from the other set. Should be good to go. Okay, time to put the bolts in. No washers, just the bolts, and they will be taut and wired. And again, it's really important that these go down evenly. So when I start to do these up, you'll see I'll do like a quarter of a turn in each one, opposite each time. Okay, well with these just snugged up like this, just snugged up like that. The next thing I'm going to do is take these split pins out and snug up. I can find my screwdriver. Snug the adjustable pins up as well. So I'm just going to undo it, just so it's the first nearest one beyond it going tight. So I can get the split pin in. Same with this one. And the same with that one. Just another tip when you're doing this, keep your eye on this gap, just about to see it, and make sure that the gap is around about even all the way around as you're doing these up. If you don't do that, you're going to basically put a stress in this casting and you could potentially crack it. Okay, once you've got it snug down, and I've done it hand tight, I'm going to put about 25-30 pounds on these, I think, and then they'll be wired, so shouldn't be any issues there. It's important to measure around about 2 inches spring length. So it looks like I've got quite a bit more than that right now. So what I'm going to do is release these, and that way I can adjust it to about 2 inches. Okay, so here we are, let me show you. I've measured. They recommend 2 inches for the spring length. I've actually gone a little bit lower than that because, you know, over the years these springs will slightly compress a little bit. So I got it to 2 inches, and I then went round another half turn with these threads. So it's a little under 2 inches. It probably gives it the same kind of pressure that it would have had when the spring was new. The threads in the top of these have to be, you know, in line with where the hole is, so you can put the split pin in. Did that 3 times, bend the split pin over just on one leg, in case I need to take these out, you know, when the hog, through the hole in the hog's head, which is unlikely, but you never know. The next thing I've got to do is torque these to 25, 30 maybe, and then wire them up. I'll wire them up in pairs. Again, when you wire, some of the YouTubes you may see don't show this, but you should wire with your tension coming from the, you're pulling from the back of the bolt which makes sure it's turning in the clockwise direction always. So this will pull from the front, this will pull from the back, and this will, you know, when you do the wire up, this will ensure that these bolts just can't work loose. And there's 3 of those to do. 3 wires, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I didn't film it, but what I did was put some of this copper spray gasket down. Used the gasket from Snyder, brand new from Snyder, and basically torqued everything down. I put some gasket spray onto the threads of the bolts as well, because I know over a period of time it tends to seep down there. And they've each got 25-pound torque. All went down nicely, no threads squashed. This gasket material is a little bit messy, the way I bought it anyway in the tin, but it's okay. I'd rather have more than less, and you can see it's done a pretty nice job, and probably need to clean off some of this area. I'll probably leave the gasket material around the bolts, so probably when I'm dead somebody else will do this engine, and we will see how it was all put together. So there we go. Got to do the same with the, what do you call this, the sump to engine bolts as well. So this is all actually being cleaned off underneath. Can't see what you're seeing, but this should be all metal. And of course this is a machine surface here as well. So that's, oops, so that's all ready to go. Got the eye bolts coming so I can move the engine and start assembling. The hogshead is over here with all the parts ready to put on also. So slowly but surely we're making progress.